Cheaters are everywhere, and since we live in a world where everyone is married and divorcing, it's not just singles or widows who need to figure out how to spot a cheater. It's all couples who have committed to another person. Why do so many marriages fail? I think you can get some idea from this story. Today's story was published by Miyanu and is about the husband finds out that his wife of 11 years has been cheating on him for the past 3 months and lies to him every minute of every day, seemingly without guilt. Okay, let's go to the story and see what happened there. I'm Dan. I had just got off the phone with my wife of 11 years, the day after tomorrow, and it had ended with her in tears. 3 years ago I had almost lost my job because Catherine, had gotten so upset that I was going to be missing our anniversary that she made me come home. Here it is 3 years later, and it's her that's going to be missing our anniversary, and there is not one thing I said to her that would make her come home. The last 12 years have been the happiest of my life. When I met Kate, she was 24 and just getting started in her career in sales. She had come to our architecture firm to try and get us to place ads in some of the more upscale magazines that at the time we could not afford. The little black-haired beauty caught my eye, and after talking to my partner, he helped me string her along long enough for me to get her to go out with me. She told me after our first date that she had known we couldn't afford her services. I was in love. We dated for over 6 months, and then she moved in with me for another 6 until she could get off the road and into an office. We were married about 4 months after that. There hasn't been a day go by that I don't think I'm one of the luckiest guys on the planet because I got her to marry me. Update. I grabbed the phone again and called my boss. I had been around since day one, when Craig had started the place. Our little 4-man design team had made some amazing breakthroughs that had cut production times in many areas. Craig, I know you're in there. Pick up, I said into the phone. I heard him pick up the phone. Dan, I'm kind of busy right now, you know that. Then I'll make it short. I'm leaving right now, and I won't be back until Monday, I said. What are you talking about, leaving? Where are you going? He said. I'm going to spend my anniversary with my wife. I'll see you Monday, I said. Have a good trip. Don't forget to knock before you walk in, he said, laughing. You just get funnier every day, I said. You know, I hear that all the time, he said. Not from anyone that knows you. Hey, sorry, but the last couple of months since they brought that guy into head Kate's department, things have been pretty tense around our house. Maybe some time in a hotel bed could help things, I said. Well, it sure never hurt anything. Do me a favor, when you're just ready to do something a little kinky, think of me, Craig said, chuckling. Deal, see you Monday, I said. Not hanging up, I extension for Craig's secretary. Rose had a way of getting anything, and I needed a plane ticket. After I got off the phone with her, I got in my car and went home to pack. I was filling my suitcase when my cell rang. You have 45 minutes to get to the airport in time for security check. The ticket is waiting at the desk under your name. I was able to get you a return flight on Sunday afternoon at 1:30. There weren't any rooms in the hotel you said Kate was in, so I got one 2 blocks away. Have a safe trip. And I'll see you Monday, Rose said. I ran into the bathroom and got my shaving kit filled. I stuffed it in the bag, closed it up, and started making a quick check of the place. After remembering to shut off the coffee maker one of the few times, I ran for the car. After 15 years, I've learned a few good back roads, and with only a little speeding, okay, a lot of speeding, I made the flight with time to spare. After getting checked in, screened, and staged, we got on the plane. As soon as we were in our seats, I slipped the earbuds in and turned on my iPod. I'm not much of a flyer, but music clams me down enough to keep the white-knuckling to a minimum. 3 hours later, a hand on my shoulder woke me out of a nice dream about Kate and I had really passed out. I haven't been doing much sleeping at night. A little of it was stress at work, but for the last couple of months things between Kate and I have been strained. It had been over 2 months since she had even let me close to her. It started with her telling me how they had promoted a guy from another department over her to head her department. She was really scrambling to show them that they had made a mistake in passing her over. For the first 2 weeks she had come home exhausted and talking about nothing but how to get escape of Mr. Paul Reynolds. This calmed down in the 3rd week, and a couple of weeks later she said they had started working together more and better until they were now being sent out as a team to bring in a large account. I had gotten a little worried that there might be something between them, but Kate always put my mind at ease. As I pulled my bag out of the overhead, I was thinking of how to get Kate to come down to the restaurant without telling her I was there. I caught a cab to my hotel, and after a little small talk about my situation, the cabbie told me about a nice romantic place in between the 2 hotels with a dark dance floor and dark booths. I told him it sounded like just the kind of place I was looking for, and gave him a nice tip as I got out at the curb. Update 1. After I got checked in, I took a quick shower and got out of there as soon as possible. I was hoping to catch Kate before she went out to eat. It was just after 5:30 as I passed the clock in the lobby. Looking at the crowded street, I figured I could get there just as fast on foot, and started in the direction the lady at the desk had pointed me. The walk was easy, and I took the time to note the romantic club the cabbie had mentioned was just a few doors from her hotel. I walked into the hotel lobby at 10 to 6 and got in line to speak with one of the desk people. I smiled at the lady that waved me forward. "Hi, my name is Dan Cardiff. I'd like to find out if my wife Catherine is in her room, and if she is, I'd like to talk to her, please." "Cardiff, Catherine. Yes, she is staying with us. Just a second, and I'll see if she's in," she said, dialing the room. "I'm sorry, sir. There's no answer. Would you like to leave a message?" "Not right now. I was kind of hoping to surprise her. Our anniversary is tomorrow, so I would appreciate it if you wouldn't mention we had this little talk," I said hopefully. "No problem, sir. I never saw you. I hope you have a great day tomorrow, sir," she said. "Thank you. I think I'll go check the restaurant. Maybe I'll get lucky." "Good night," I said. I followed to the far side of the lobby and found a room full of people running, serving, sitting, and eating. The place was packed. I wasn't giving myself very good odds at finding her in there. I spotted the restroom to one side in the back. I walked through looking left and right, but I didn't see her. After taking care of my business, I stood at the hallway entrance and looked out over the room again. There was no way I was going to see her in here. Then I don't know how, but I heard a giggle. It was 1 in 1,000, but it sounded like her. I looked along the wall, but the booths were high, and all I could see were the faces of a few guys and the heads of the women with them. Well, I wasn't walking up to any tables until I was sure who was in there, so I went back across the place and looked back to the wall. I started going down the row, booth by booth. The third one from the hallway I had been in, I saw her. She was sitting there eating and laughing with a guy I didn't recognize. She looked great. She was in a dress she always picked when she was looking forward to a night of dancing. They too looked very easy with one another. What's going on here? It sure looked more intimate than dinner with a colleague. Then I had to reach for the door jamb when he leaned towards her and she gave him a kiss. I walked away from the door to the center of the lobby and dropped into one of the big wingback chairs. I'm not real sure how long I sat there. I was facing the dining room and looked up when I heard that giggle again. I looked over to see her walking with both her hands on his arm, leaning close and laughing while speaking into his ear. They walked within 15 feet of me. I'm sure they were talking, but all I did was watch the way she was looking at him. I hadn't seen that look in a long time. All of a sudden I couldn't breathe. I started striding for the door. I probably didn't look real happy, and I had a pretty good head of steam up. I walked straight to the curb and stood there huffing in. I don't know what. Pain, anger, sorrow, but I think anger was winning. My body snapped around before I knew what I was doing. I watched as they pushed their way out of the door together and turned walking towards my hotel. I watched as she walked holding his arm and leaning into him. I watched as they walked down the block, turned, and went into the club I had looked at. Snapping out of the trance I was in, I started for the doorway. Thinking for the first time in a while, I slowed down so they would have time to get away from the door. Stopping, I took a few deep breaths trying to calm down. There was no way that look could be anything but what it was, but I wanted something more. I'm not real sure what, but something. I opened the door, stepped in, and moved off to one side. There was no cover charge, so I just stood waiting for my eyes to adjust, looking into the room. I spotted them in the end booth, over by a table for two. I stuck to the outside and made my way to the little table. The waitress was right on my back and was there as I sat down. "What can I get you, honey?" she said. "Scotch, rocks, double." I said, "Our meeting isn't until 10 tomorrow, so we can stay and celebrate as late as you want." I heard him tell Kate, "I'm so glad you didn't let him guilt you into going home. Go home and miss our 2-month anniversary. No way." "I can't believe we've already been together for 2 months, she said. "It would have been longer if you had taken me up on my offer at the end of my first week there," he said. "Well, I had to make you think I was a little hard to get. I am supposed to be married, you know. I couldn't believe it when you walked up to me in front of Marge and asked me out, knowing full well I was married," she said. "Marge was the one that told me you thought I was handsome," he said. "We need to get something nice for her, for getting us together," Kate said as their waitress arrived, dropped their drinks and left. "Here's to 2 fantastic months together, and many more to come," he finished. "And many more to come," she said, clanking glasses. "Here you go, honey. Will that be all?" said my waitress, setting my drink in front of me. I pulled a 10 out and gave it to her. "Thanks, lady," I said and turned to the booth. He looked up, but not knowing me, it didn't really matter to him. Seeing him looking, Kate turned to look up at me. You know a guy should carry a camera for times like these. The look on her face could have been used for any number of posters, as she sat there with her mouth moving, and nothing coming out. Wow, 2 months. That's a special anniversary. I remember mine. But after 11 years it gets a little old, I guess, I said, looking at him, looking at her. Let's see, 2 months. That's red and gold, isn't it? Well, a cute couple like you deserves a present. So here's the gold, I said, tossing my ring on the table towards Kate. And here's the red ... Paul, Kate half yelled. I knew that if I didn't leave, I was going to end up in jail. I turned to look at Kate as she was trying to help us haul. Sometime, tell him how lucky he is that he wasn't in my house. Call and leave a message as to where you want your things sent. If you're smart, and I'm not saying you are, you won't come by the house. You might try some ice on that nose, I said as I turned and walked away. Update 2. I walked out the front door of the club, turned to my hotel, and started taking long strides. I know there is no way Kate could know where I was staying, and after what I'd done to her little friend, she probably wasn't going to try and catch me anyway. But I needed to put some distance between us fast. Walking into the lobby, I went over to the front desk. Excuse me, do you have the phone numbers to the airlines? I need to get on a plane as soon as possible, I said. Yes, sir. What airline? And when and where do you want to go? She asked. I gave her all the information she needed, and she told me she would call the room with my flight information. I went up to the room and started pacing up and down. This was so unbelievable. How did this happen? Then I got to thinking, well, did she miss her calling? The acting Kate had been doing the last 2 months would have won her an award. And that little crying scene on the phone when I was trying to guilt her into coming home, she was good. I was getting more pissed by the second and couldn't stay in the room anymore. I grabbed my bag and took the stairs to the lobby. When I got there, the lady behind the desk put down the phone and waved me over. Sir, if you leave now, you have an outside chance at catching the last flight tonight. Final check-in is in 30 minutes. If you don't make it, the next flight is in 3 hours, she said. Thank you. I hope the cab drivers around here are good, I said as I signed the checkout slip she had pushed in front of me. I'm sorry you had to cut your visit with us short. Please keep us in mind the next time you're in town, she said with a smile. I have a feeling I'm going to have a hard time forgetting anything about my visit, I said and started for the door. I ran out of the lobby and found a cab at the stand just up the street. I've got $50 that says you can't get me to the airport in less than 30 minutes. You're on, boss, he said, snapping me back into the seat. The guy was good. He had me there in 20 minutes. I paid him what was on the meter plus the 50, told him thanks, and started running for my gate. I don't know what I was worried about. I had 3 or 4 minutes to spare. I got through the security. Finally, they called us to board. I didn't need the music this time. This time there were plenty of other things to keep my mind on. A thought flashed through my mind, and I barely caught myself before I burst out laughing. Kate's mom has not been my #1 fan. Deborah has her husband right where she wants him. She treats Greg like a mushroom. She doesn't get away with it with me, and she isn't real pleased about that. She told Kate once that one of these days I'd cheat on her, that she had seen me checking out other women when we were all out together. The whole flight I just sat there wondering if this was really happening. I pulled out the picture I carry of Kate and me and sat looking at it. All of a sudden, when I looked at the smiling face, the one next to it looked like his Hall. I snapped my head up and looked to see if anyone saw me, then looked back at the picture. It was me next to Kate in the picture, but all I could see was her looking into his eyes that way. Now she had me wondering. I know men aren't supposed to be the ones that remember things, but I counted myself as an exception to that rule. In the beginning, like all women, Kate tried to pull that, oh, do you remember this, or do you remember that? But unfortunately for her, I did. I remembered all our conversations, all our plans, all the little secrets you only mention in the dark. Now I sit here wondering, if I didn't notice this going on for 2 months, what else have I missed? The guy asked her out the first week he met her, and from what she said, the only reason it didn't happen was so that she could make it look good because she was married. Thinking about seeing her at the table with him upset me. Seeing how familiar they were, the little looks, the touches, and that simple little kiss. Thinking of getting escape of her things gave me a twofer idea. I'm going to go home, pack all of it up, and take it to her mother. The old bag will find a way of putting the blame on me, but as long as I know the truth, that's all that matters. We were arriving into the airport. I walked straight out to my car and got in line for the exit. I don't really remember much of the drive home, but I got there. I don't really know how long it took, but who cares anyway? Walking into the dark house felt pretty strange. All I could think of was, get used to it, pal. This is how it's going to look from now on. I dropped my bag and headed for the kitchen. On the way by, I automatically switch on the answering machine. Dan, please don't do anything crazy. I'm on my way home so that we can talk. Please, don't do anything until I get there, she said, sounding a little distraught. I figured the cheater deserves the punishment. It said something I didn't want here, in a voice I didn't want to hear it from, so I kicked it. Okay, so maybe it was a little unreasonable. Don't do anything stupid. There was not going to be any sleep this kid tonight. I went out into the garage and found all the luggage she had bought over the years. I pulled out a matching large black case and a garment bag and set those aside and took the rest up to the bedroom. I went over to her closet, picked out an armload, and crammed it into one of the big bags. I did that a few more times and then started in on the dresser. She had things in those drawers I haven't seen for years, and she told me I was a pack rat. But then what do I know? She might have been wearing them for someone else. When I finished with the dresser, I went down and got a couple of boxes for her shoes. I moved everything down into the front room near the door. I went in, got a bottle of water, and went back to sit and stare at the pile. What now? For 1 second the thought of how nice it would be to go get some hot dogs and marshmallows and have me a nice little cookout, and while satisfying, there again I'd end up dealing with the local law enforcement and her, and that I could do without. Well, I wasn't going to sit around waiting for her to get here, so on a whim I took off for the hardware store. I bought some new locks and went home to install them. When I got there and saw the big pile in the front room, I knew it couldn't stay there, and thinking along the lines I had been earlier, I loaded it all into my car and started for her mom's house. Update 3. I backed into their driveway, got out, and started unloading it all next to the garage. I didn't want to make Greg work too hard, and I knew he'd be getting no help from his wife and daughter. As the third case hit the ground, out came my dear, sweet mother-in-law. "Hello, Dan. What's all this?" she asked. "Well, when Kate gets here she might want some clothes. I was going to let her bring them, but I didn't want to look at them sitting in the front room anymore," I said. "What do you mean, when Kate gets here? I thought she was still out of town, and why would she be here?" she asked. "Well, Deborah, I'm not sure where she's planning on going, but I thought she would be staying with you until she figured it out. For all I know, she might have already made arrangements to move in with the guy she's been having lately, but I don't know that for sure, so I brought her here," I said, watching her face turn pale. "What are you talking about? How can you stand there and accuse my daughter of such a thing? She had to stay there because of her job. She most definitely is not cheating on you," she said, getting close to being hysterical. Well, when last I saw the happy couple, they were celebrating their 2-month anniversary in a nightclub near their hotel. See, after almost begging her to come home for our anniversary and her going into tears saying how sorry she was that she couldn't get here for it, I hopped on a plane. When I got there they were already at dinner together. It looked pretty romantic, so I didn't want to disturb them in the middle of their meal. Besides, after I saw them kissing over the table I needed a seat. Then when they walked by me in the lobby, I suppose I could have said something then. But the way she looked at him and whispered in his ear, I didn't have the heart to disturb them then either. Then all I needed was air, so I went out to stand by the curb just in time for them to come out and head for a little nightclub a couple of doors down. While I was sitting at a table near them, I heard her tell him that there was no way she could leave him on their 2-month anniversary, only to hear him tell her that it should be their 3rd month. I finally figured that if I was going to get a flight out of there, I was going to have to break in on their celebration. I tried to be as discreet as possible, but I really did need to get them something. So I downed the first drink I've had in 10 years, actually ever since you told Kate my drinking was going to break up our marriage, and I gave her my wedding ring. I thought it was rather thoughtful of me to have gotten something for each of them. I think I liked his gift better, though. So, after she comes home and gives me another award-winning performance, and I throw her as out the door, I'm sure she will be coming by for an extended visit, I said, shocking her. None of this is true. How could say such things about your wife of 11 years? She said, don't ever call that woman my wife again. Maybe you have to stand by her, she's your daughter, but I don't. I saw it all with my own eyes, and I've been there the last 2 months living single existence, while she's out with him from the moment he got to that company. That's some piece of work you raised. She has looked me in the eye for 3 months, and seemingly without a shred of guilt, lied to me every minute of every day. If you think I'm taking that back into my house, you're even more fool than she is. Anyway, what you choose to believe is your problem. As for me, I'm cutting my losses. She seemed pretty hung up on the guy. Well, he can have her. She won't have the problem of sneaking around trying to keep it a secret. After she's done trying to lie her way out of it, I'm sending her over here. You can see for yourself who's lying, I said, dropping the last box on the ground. Now I've got to get back home. She didn't say when she'd be there, and I have already changed the locks. Wouldn't want her to have to stand around outside, would we? I'm going right in to call her and tell her what you've done. When she gets done with you, you will regret the day you were born, she said in a huff, stomping up into the house. Too late for that. If she answers, tell her what you want. including that I'll be waiting to hear how she plans to talk her way out of it, I said, and got in my car. I was expecting a call after Deborah's to call Kate, but it never came. After roaming aimlessly around the house for a couple of hours, I went out to the little corner of our garage that I had turned into a work area. I heard the front door bell. I went to the door. After I opened it, I stepped back without a word and let Kate walk in. "You must have been in the garage. I tried knocking," she said as I shut the door and followed her in. "Yeah, I was cleaning up a few things," I said. "From the sounds of it, you've been doing a lot of cleaning. My mother called me a while ago. It sounds like you've pretty much made up your mind about what to do with me," she said. "What, did you think I'd be okay with you having a boyfriend?" I asked her. I guess I wasn't doing a lot of thinking. "Not with my head, anyway," she said. "Too bad. I've been doing nothing but. See, I haven't had anybody around to take my mind off things. You know, go to dinner with, go out to a club with, to sit in the dark and whisper and kiss. You know what I get? I get a woman that can lie to me while looking me right in the eye. She can sit here and share my house, my food, and my life, and then go and be completely intimate with someone else. So yeah, I think I've pretty much made up my mind," I said. "Doesn't paint a very nice picture, does it? Are you really going to give up on 11 years together?" she asked. "Did you at some point ask me, Dan, you don't mind if I start a relationship, not just playing, but a relationship with someone besides you, do you?" You would think I'd remember something like that. But then it really doesn't matter anymore, does it? Now you and what's his name can feel free to go about your business and not have to worry about me anymore. No more hassles like juggling which anniversary to spend with whom," I said, walking over to a chair. "I think I get the point," Kate said. "Do you, Kate? Do you get the point? Because I don't really think you do. See, to you it was just cheating. You probably even figured out a way to justify it. For all I know, it was probably my fault. Was it, Kate? Was it my fault that you plagued this guy?" I asked. "No, I didn't blame you for it. It just happened," she said, dropping her head. "Sleep with someone for 3 months, other than your husband of 11 years, isn't something that just happens. You have to work at it. Then you have to work to hide it so you can continue to do it. And let me tell you, baby, you are good at your job." I fell for it all. Hook, line, and sinker. I don't know how you two could have found the time to play. You must have been laughing at what a fool you had made out of me. And that crying scene on the phone the other night, you really need to consider a career change. That performance would have beat out the last 3 Academy Award winners, hands down, I said. We never once laughed at you. One time he tried to put you down, and I wouldn't speak to him for a week. And the crying wasn't a performance. I was so full of guilt I was crying for real. There you were just about begging me to come home. But I had already made a promise to stay, and I figured that after 11 years you wouldn't really mind me missing this one," she said, looking away again. "I can't tell you how much I appreciate you sticking up for me. Man, and you didn't sleep with him for a whole week. Wow. And I guess I wasn't even supposed to think about the little stunt you pulled 3 years ago when I was doing something important, and you went into such hysterics that I almost lost my job to come home to you. I am sorry for making you feel guilty though, but I noticed you were over it by the time I saw the 2 of you at dinner. The little intimacies the 2 of you were showing one another made it pretty clear that you were where you wanted to be, with the one you wanted to be with. I saw you walking across the lobby. I saw the way you were looking at him. Don't stand there and try telling me it doesn't mean anything to you. I saw you look at him, Kate. Sorry to say it's been a long time since I've seen that look," I said. But I don't love him," she said, looking up at me. "Well, now that you can spend more time with him, maybe that will change. Maybe the 2 of you can get a place together. Think of the fun we had when we were first starting out. It'll be a whole new adventure for you," I said. "I guess I should have put that differently. What I meant to say was that I love you," she said. I was pretty proud of myself, just the one short, little uncontrollable outburst of laughter, and I stopped. "I'm not really sure where that came from, but you sure do not love me. If this is what you do to people you love, please don't let me get on your bad side. How can you sit there and think that after 11 years I don't love you?" She said. "Okay, Kate, I see you're into questions too, so here's one for you. Knowing yourself as well as you do, you know how you would react to certain situations. Taking it from there, how do you think you would have reacted if you had found out I had slept with another woman, just once? Nothing long term, just the one time." I asked. "I probably would have thrown you out of the house and already had the divorce papers drawn up," she whispered. "Thanks for being honest. That's pretty much what I thought you would have done too. I kind of threw in, you tossing something at me, but who knows," I said. "I probably would have," she said with a weak smile. "Okay, now suppose that you found out that every day, for as near as I can figure 3 months, every bit of time I spent with you, and it was little, meant nothing to me. All I did was go through the motions and make you think that everything between us was great, and then go to work, meet up with my lover, and spend the entire day with her. So does this give you the impression that I love you? After close to 13 years, give me some credit, Kate. Besides, like I said, now you two should be able to get closer, without all the sneaking around. I said matter of fact. You are making it sound like you don't even care. The time I spent with you meant a lot to me. I was not just going through motions. I enjoyed being with you, she said. When was the last time we had sex, Kate? When was the last time you came up and started one of our love kisses? You could answer a question without having to be about who you were talking to. When was the last time you were my wife, Kate? Don't stand there declaring your love for me after what I saw and heard. I may have been born at night, but it wasn't last night. You were talking about him to that old bag Marge the second he walked into the office. Then you two sit there and talk about getting the old bag a gift for getting you together. It sounds to me like you just found your next matron of honor. All you need is his best friend, and you guys are set, I said, leaning back in the chair. So you are just like me after all. Should I be expecting the server at my door? She asked. Final update. First you'll have to tell me where you are planning to be, but then no way, not a chance. You will not see some process person at your door handing you your divorce papers. I reserved that right for myself. I said, so that's it, case closed. Get escape from Kate and move on. You show up, see me with another man, don't break us up, but step in and kick him when you don't want to watch anymore. What is that supposed to show me? She asked. I guess I didn't know I needed to show you anything. What I did for me, not you. Why would I fight for someone like you? Someone that respected me so little that she thought treating me like that was something that I'd tolerate or excuse. When I gave you that ring, I thought I was making myself pretty clear. I'm done with you. I'm not putting any more energy into something that now means so little to both of us. There's no way I'm going to forget and forgive, and I can tell from the way acted before. And now that I haven't been very high on your list of important people, so it's get escape from Kate and move on. I don't presume to know how you thought this was going to end, but you messed up the bed. Now you sleep in it, I said, looking her square in the eye. So that's it. You just throw me out and keep everything. Somehow, that seems like a poor deal after 11 years, she said. It's always about a deal, isn't it? Okay, here's the deal. You want the house, you pay for the house. Me, I want the house. I like it here. With all the extra room, I can finally make it into something I want. I just assumed you and Bast had a place lined up, I said. His name is Paul, she said. I don't give a duck, does he? Or does he not have a place to live? I said. Well, of course he does, she said. Well, there you go. Problem solved, I said. I waited for her to say something, and then it dawned on me. So, you don't think his wife will go for the arrangement, I guess, I said, watching her eyes. What, did you check up on him? How did you know he was married? She said, it's not a joke. You really do think I'm dumb. Why else would you be here, Kate? So which is it? Is he not willing to get a divorce for you? I hope you weren't really thinking of trying to come back here with me, I said. I had given it some thought. I thought maybe after 11 years. Think again. There is no us. That was your call. Here's to the best 2 months ever, and many more to come. Do you recall that line? It's like I told you earlier, when I gave you that ring, that was it. Don't give me this after 11 years crap. Those 11 years meant nothing to you before, and they mean nothing to me now. So, I'll take those 11 years and raise you a set of papers as soon as I can have them drawn up. The offer on the house stands as it is. If you don't want the house, feel free to come back and take what you want. So you'll just move on without a second thought. Divorce me and forget about me. Is that all there is to it? She asked. You're not really trying to make me feel sorry for you, are you? Of course I'm not ever going to forget about someone I spent so much of my life with. But as far as remembering goes, it's going to take a long time to get the sight of the two of you together out of my mind. The thought of you sleeping in my bed after being with that piece of things makes my stomach turn. There is nothing left for you here. I won't have someone I can't trust living under the same roof with me, and I will never trust you again. So what will it be? Do you want the house? I asked. No, I don't want the house. Give me a few days to find a place, and I'll probably take a lot of the furniture, she said, pulling her hand out of her pocket. What do you want me to do with this? She said, holding my ring out to me. Whatever you want. Hey, I know. Use it for one of those toe rings. It should fit over your big toe. That's the way you were treating it anyway. You might as well get some use out of it, I said. Fine, you know what? I could use a little extra cash. Maybe I'll pawn it, she said. Well, you won't get much. They buy that stuff by weight, and you probably won't get $30. You couldn't buy a real solid gold toe ring for $30, but hey, that's just my opinion. It's your ring, do what you want with it, I said. I'll call you in a few days about the furniture. "Did you get all of my things out of the closet?" she asked, turning for the door. "Well, I got everything, but I was a little pissed at the time and did a pretty poor job of packing. I hope you have a few clean, unwrinkled things left from your trip," I said. "Mind if I take a look?" she asked. "Not at all, you know the way," I said, watching her give me a little scowl. I sat there and waited. I heard her go into the bedroom, then the closet, and finally the bathroom. After a few minutes she came down stuffing a few cosmetics into a flowered zip-up bag. "You were pretty thorough, only missed a few things. Might have to give you a call when I'm ready to move," she said with a fake smile. "Hey, as long as it's no closer to me, I'll be glad to lend a hand," I said, sporting the same smile and getting up to open the door for her. "So, you want me to just walk away? You don't have anything left to say?" she said. I stood there thinking for a second, and I actually did think of something. "Would it be too much for me to ask you to run?" I said, keeping a straight face. "Kiss my ... she said as she turned and walked out the door. "I wouldn't kiss that thing. I don't even know where it's been," I said, shutting the door. Conclusion. After 3 months, my lawyer prepared all the divorce papers and asked to pick me up from his office on Monday. My first stop will be at the lawyer's office and the second stop will be at my mother-in-law's house. I just have to ask Kate to sign those papers. I don't want her to get any hope for reconciliation. I pulled in front of the house and parked. I sat in the car looking at home, thinking about finishing this last job. Okay, so maybe it'll take me a while, but eventually I'll sleep well at night again, and it'll be over. I got out of the car and went to the front door and rang the bell. As luck would have it, who would answer but the mother-in-law? "Well, Dan, what brings you here? I thought you were done with us." "Not yet. Is Kate here?" I asked. "Yes, she is. Come in, I'll go get her," she said, closing the door. Seconds later, Kate came in. "Kate, I'm here to get your signature on these papers, and I'll file them tomorrow. So please sign the papers. I'll file them, and then it'll be our divorce done. I just want it over with." "I don't think I was very good at your thoughts," said Kate. Did you think I would sit back and watch what you've been up to for the past few months?" Kate left the room, returning a minute later. She grabbed a pen from the table. As she reached the pages that required her signature, I watched her scribble quickly and move on. After she finished, she slapped the pen on the table and stuffed everything into the manila envelope. "All signed and ready to file there. You may leave now," she said. "Thanks for signing this. Take care of yourself and have a nice life. You can come to the room now, Deborah." "Congratulations to you too," I said, and walked out the door. I drove away with mixed feelings. I knew I got moved from her for good, but life was going to be very different. When we got divorced after a month, one day I got news from Kate's father that when our divorce was final, Kate asked Paul to divorce his wife and marry her, but Paul told her to leave him because he has only spent time with Kate. He didn't love her. So, Kate would be live without me and learned her lessons. The end. Thank you for joining us on Revolving Time, where we bring you real-life stories that explore the complexities of the human experience. We hope that our stories have provided you with insights, inspiration, and a renewed appreciation for the power of human resilience. Remember, this channel exists because of your support, and I want it to be a place where we can all come together, learn, and have a great time. Your feedback is vital, and I appreciate every single suggestion and comment you provide. We encourage you to subscribe to our channel and stay connected with our community. By subscribing, you will be the first to know about new stories and events, and you'll have access to a library of inspiring content. Thank you once again for being a part of our journey, and we look forward to sharing more powerful stories with you in the future.